There is a specific kind of quiet that settles over the house around 11 at night. The television is off. The neighborhood is still. This is the time when you finally stop moving and expect your body to do exactly the same. But for a lot of us, over 65, the moment the house gets quiet is the exact moment the body gets loud. You might feel a dull ache in your lower back. Maybe it is a strange tightness in your calf or a heavy feeling in your chest that makes you shift your weight in the dark. For years, you have probably told yourself the exact same thing. I worked hard today. I spent too much time in the garden or standing in the garage. This is just what aging feels like. And you are partly right. Bodies wear down. A machine that has been running for 60 or 70 years is going to have some creaks in the floorboards. But there is a very clear line between the normal aches of a long day and a specific kind of nighttime pain that is trying to tell you a completely different story. Tonight we are going to talk about 7 very specific pains that only seem to wake up when you are trying to sleep. These are not the regular signs of aging that you should just grit your teeth and ignore. These are quiet alarms. They happen at night because your body no longer has the distractions of the day to hide them. Ignoring these specific feelings could turn a simple warning into a real problem. Let us walk through what they are, what they actually mean, and why paying attention to them might be the smartest thing you do for yourself this year. Before we get to the first one, let us think about why things hurt more at night. During the day, your mind is busy. You are making coffee. You are checking the mail. You are talking to your family or fixing something around the house. Your brain is processing 1,000 different signals at once. A minor ache easily gets pushed to the back of the line. But when you lie down in the dark, those distractions disappear. Suddenly, that dull throb is the only signal your brain is receiving. But it is not just about being distracted. When you lie flat, gravity shifts. Fluid that pooled in your legs all day starts moving back toward your center. The pressure on your spine changes entirely. Your heart has to pump blood at a different angle. Your breathing slows. Your body enters maintenance mode. And if something is fundamentally wrong inside the machinery, this is exactly when the warning lights flash. The problem is that we are a proud generation. We do not like to complain. We sit on the edge of the bed at 3 in the morning, rubbing a sore leg and telling ourselves we just need to stretch more. We do not want to wake our spouse. We certainly do not want to bother a doctor over what feels like a minor nuisance. But toughing it out is not always the badge of honor we think it is. Sometimes it is just a misunderstanding of what our body is asking for. Let us start with something so common you might have experienced it last week. You are sleeping soundly and out of nowhere, an intense gripping pain shoots through your calf or your thigh. It feels like the muscle is tying itself into a knot. Your immediate instinct is to throw off the covers, put your feet on the cold floor, and walk it off. And usually, after a few minutes of pacing the dark hallway, it eases up. You go back to sleep thinking you just did not drink enough water, or maybe you need to eat more bananas for the potassium. It is true that dehydration or a lack of minerals can cause simple muscle cramps. But there is a very specific type of nighttime leg pain that is not just a stubborn muscle. If you find that this pain happens frequently, and especially if it feels less like a sudden knot and more like a deep burning ache that radiates down the leg, you are dealing with something else entirely. When we lie flat, the circulation in our lower extremities changes. If there is a narrowing in the blood vessels down there, the muscles in your legs are suddenly starved for oxygen. During the day when you are upright, Gravity helps push the blood down to your feet. But horizontally, the heart has to work harder to push that blood through narrowed pipes. The pain you feel is literally your leg muscles crying out for oxygen. Walking around makes it feel better because standing up enlists gravity to help pull the blood back down. So you think you cured a cramp. But what you actually did was temporarily fix a plumbing issue. If you have this burning ache at night, and perhaps you also notice that the skin on your lower legs is cooler to the touch or losing hair, this is a classic sign of poor circulation. It is not something a glass of water will fix. It means your engine is having trouble getting fuel to the furthest gears. Getting this checked early can prevent serious vascular issues down the road. It is a simple conversation with your doctor about blood flow, not a sign of weakness. Now let us talk about your back. If you are over 65, having a stiff back almost feels like a membership requirement for this stage of life. You bend down to pick up a grandchild, or you spend an hour pulling weeds, and your lower back reminds you of your age. We are used to mechanical back pain. That is the kind of pain that changes when you move. If you lean forward, it hurts more. If you lie back on a pillow, it feels better. We understand how that works. The hinge gets rusty, and it hurts when you swing the door. But there is a very different kind of back pain that wakes people up at night. This pain is deep. It feels like a dull, heavy ache settling inside your body. And the most important clue is this: changing positions does not help. You roll to your left side. It hurts. You roll to your right. It hurts just the same. You prop yourself up on 3 pillows. No difference. You lie perfectly flat. The ache is still exactly there. When pain does not respond to movement or position, it is often not a muscle or a joint problem at all. Your spine is a central highway, and pain from your internal organs often travels along nerve pathways that make it feel like your back is hurting. A deep, relentless ache in your mid or lower back that wakes you from sleep and refuses to be relieved by shifting around can be a signal from your kidneys, your pancreas, or even an artery issue. A lot of folks will spend hundreds of dollars on a new mattress, convinced that the springs are bad. They buy expensive orthopedic pillows. They rub strong-smelling ointments all over their lower back and wait for the heat to do its magic. But the mattress is not the problem. The ointment is just burning the skin above a system that is trying to send an internal distress signal. If you have a back pain that acts like an unwelcome guest at night, refusing to leave no matter how much you adjust your posture, you need to stop blaming the bed. It is your body telling you to look deeper than the muscles. Let us move up the body to something that fools almost everyone. You wake up at 2 in the morning and your jaw feels tight. Maybe the ache radiates down the left side of your neck or into your shoulder. The natural assumption is that you simply slept funny. You think your pillow was too high, or you ground your teeth in your sleep because you were stressed about taxes or house repairs. You massage your neck, maybe take a sip of water, and try to get back to sleep. But here is where the body plays a very dangerous trick on us. We have all been taught that heart problems look like a movie scene. We expect a sudden, crushing pain in the center of the chest. We expect to be gasping for air. Because of that expectation, we ignore the subtle, quieter ways the heart asks for help. The nerves that connect to your heart share the same pathways as the nerves that run to your jaw, neck, and left arm. When the heart muscle is struggling to get enough oxygen-rich blood, especially when you are lying down and the fluid dynamics in your chest change. The brain sometimes gets confused about where the pain is coming from. It misreads the signal. Instead of feeling a chest pain, you feel a deep, throbbing ache in your lower jaw or your neck. This is incredibly common, and it is a detail that causes many people to delay getting help. Women in particular often experience cardiovascular distress, not as a sharp chest pain, but as an uncomfortable pressure in the jaw or upper back, accompanied by feeling unusually tired or a little sick to their stomach. If you wake up with a tightness in your jaw or neck that you cannot explain, and it feels like a heavy ache rather than a sharp muscle pinch, pay close attention to the rest of your body. Are you slightly short of breath even though you are lying perfectly still? Do you feel a light sweat breaking out on your forehead? If this tightness does not go away when you massage the jaw or stretch the neck, do not just take a painkiller and hope for the best. Your heart is an engine that runs 24 hours a day for your entire life. It does not always shout when it is having trouble. Sometimes, it just whispers in the middle of the night through an ache in your jaw. Listening to that whisper is the ultimate act of taking care of the machinery. When you look at these first 3 nighttime alarms, the burning leg cramp, the unshifting back pain, and the aching jaw, there is a common thread. They all disguise themselves as something ordinary. They dress up as muscle fatigue, a bad mattress, or sleeping in an awkward position. And because we are resilient people who have spent decades pushing through minor discomforts, we accept the disguise. We tell ourselves we are just getting older. But getting older does not mean you have to accept every pain blindly. True wisdom is knowing the difference between a creaky hinge and a failing foundation. Recognizing that difference gives you the power to act before a whisper turns into a siren. You have worked too hard for too many years to let a solvable problem steal your peace of mind and your mobility. You deserve to sleep soundly, knowing that your body is safe. We still have 4 more specific nighttime pains to talk about, and the next few are even more surprising. They involve parts of your body you might never connect to sleep, but they reveal incredible secrets about what happens inside you after dark. Welcome back to the quiet of the night. In the first part of our conversation, we looked at how your legs, your back, and even your jaw can send out distress signals when the sun goes down. We talked about how the body uses the stillness of the night to finally make you listen. Now we are going to look at 3 more specific nighttime pains. These are sensations you might be experiencing right now, perhaps even brushing them off as just another normal part of getting older. But as we are learning, getting older is not a blanket excuse for every uncomfortable thing your body does. Let us start by looking all the way down at your feet. Imagine this scenario. It is 2 or 3 in the morning. The room is perfectly cool, but you find yourself constantly kicking the blankets off the bottom of the bed. Your feet feel strangely warm, almost like they are resting on a heating pad. Or maybe it is not heat. Maybe it is a persistent tingling, a sensation like thousands of tiny invisible ants crawling just under the skin. It feels a lot like when your foot falls asleep after sitting cross-legged. But the difference is that you are lying perfectly straight, and the feeling simply will not go away. Most of us have a very practical reaction to this. We think our socks were too tight during the day. We think our shoes are finally wearing out and pinching our toes. We might even go to the bathroom and run a towel under cold water to drape over our feet just to get some relief. We blame the blankets. We blame the weather. We almost never blame the delicate wiring inside our own bodies. What you are feeling in the dark is not a temperature problem. It is a communication problem. The nerves that run all the way down to your toes are the longest nerves in your body because they are the furthest from the center. They are often the first to suffer when something in your internal environment changes. When you have had slightly elevated blood sugar for a few years, even if you have never been officially told you have diabetes, that excess sugar slowly damages the tiny blood vessels that feed those long nerves. When a nerve gets damaged or starved of nutrients, it starts to misfire. It gets confused. It sends a signal to your brain saying that your foot is burning hot. Even when the skin is completely cool to the touch, it sends a signal of sharp, stabbing pain even though nothing is actually touching your foot. This is called peripheral neuropathy. At night, without the pressure of walking or the distraction of shoes, these misfiring nerves become the loudest voice in the room. Many people ignore this tingling for years. They joke about their feet getting sensitive in their old age. But ignoring it allows the damage to continue until that burning tingling turns into complete numbness. And numbness is far more dangerous because then you cannot feel a pebble in your shoe or a blister forming. If your feet are keeping you awake with strange heat, sharp zaps, or relentless tingling, they are trying to tell you that your body is having trouble processing sugar, and your nerves are paying the price. A simple blood test can reveal the truth, and catching it early can stop the damage in its tracks. You do not have to live with feet that feel like they are plugged into an electrical socket every night. Now let us move from your feet up to your hips. Think about how you sleep. By the time we reach our 60s, most of us have a deeply ingrained sleeping position. You are probably a side sleeper. You find that perfect groove in the mattress. Pull the quilt up to your shoulder and drift off. But recently, a new routine has taken over. You sleep soundly for about an hour, and then a sharp, deep ache on the outside of your hip forces you awake. It is not your lower back. It is right on the side of the hip bone. So you roll over. You settle onto your other side. An hour later, the exact same sharp ache wakes you up on that hip. You spend the entire night flipping back and forth like a rotisserie chicken, trying to outrun the pressure. This is incredibly frustrating. It leaves you exhausted the next morning. And what do we usually do when we hurt in bed? We blame the bed. We tell our children that we need a new mattress. Maybe your daughter goes online and buys you an expensive, thick memory foam mattress topper. You put it on the bed, feeling hopeful. But 3 nights later, the exact same hip pain wakes you up. It is not the mattress. To understand what is happening, you have to picture the way your hip is built. Your joints are not just bone rubbing on bone. Wherever a tendon pulls over a bone, your body has a brilliant little invention called a bursa. Think of it as a tiny, fluid-filled cushion, a little shock absorber that stops the tissues from fraying. But after decades of walking, climbing stairs, or maybe favoring one leg because of an old knee injury, that little cushion gets overworked. It gets inflamed and swollen. When you lie on your side at night, you are putting the entire weight of your torso directly onto that inflamed little sac. The pressure cuts off the blood flow to the area, causing the bursa to swell even more and press against the surrounding nerves. The pain becomes unbearable because there is nowhere for the pressure to go. This is called bursitis. It is incredibly common in people over 65, but it is deeply misunderstood. People think their hip joint is wearing out, and they are terrified they need a massive surgery. They think it is severe arthritis creeping in. But an inflamed bursa is a soft tissue problem. It is an inflammation issue. It will not be cured by buying a softer pillow or forcing yourself to sleep on your back if you hate it. It requires specific stretches, targeted anti-inflammatory treatments, and sometimes just learning how to release the tension in the muscles surrounding the hip. If rolling over is the only way you can survive the night, your body is asking you to treat the inflammation, not to go furniture shopping. It is a completely fixable problem once you stop blaming the mattress and start looking at the mechanics of the hip. Let us go further up the body for our sixth nighttime alarm. This one is different because it often bridges the gap between the middle of the night and the early morning. Imagine waking up at 4 in the morning, or perhaps right when the sun comes up, and your head feels incredibly heavy. It is not a sharp, stabbing migraine. It is a dull, relentless pressure, like someone has wrapped a tight leather belt around your forehead, or like there is a heavy weight pressing directly behind your eyes. When you get a headache during the day, you usually know why. You were squinting at a screen, or you forgot to drink water, or you were having a stressful argument. But waking up with a headache feels unfair. Sleep is supposed to be the time when the brain rests and resets. You should wake up feeling clear. If you are waking up with a head that feels thick and painful, you might blame the room being stuffy. You might think you need to get your reading glasses checked because your eyes are tired. You might even chalk it up to just having a lot on your mind. But a persistent morning or late-night headache tells a story about what is happening to your breathing while you are asleep. As we age, the muscles in our throat and the soft tissues at the back of our mouth naturally lose some of their tone. They get relaxed. For many people, when they enter deep sleep, those relaxed tissues actually collapse and block the airway. You stop breathing for 10, 20, sometimes 30 seconds at a time. Your spouse might hear you snore loudly, go totally quiet for a terrifying moment, and then gasp for air. You might not even fully wake up when this happens. You just shift slightly and keep sleeping. But your brain absolutely notices. Your brain is a greedy organ. It needs a constant, steady supply of oxygen to survive. When your airway collapses and the oxygen levels in your blood drop, your brain goes into a mild panic to try and capture whatever little oxygen is left in your blood. The blood vessels inside your head automatically widen and expand. They open up as wide as they can. This expanding of the blood vessels stretches the delicate nerve fibers around them. By the time you wake up, your brain has been quietly starving for oxygen on and off all night, and your blood vessels have been stretched tight to compensate. That tight leather belt feeling, that heavy pressure behind your eyes, is the direct physical result of oxygen deprivation. It is not stress. It is not a bad pillow. It is sleep apnea. Or it could be a dangerous spike in your blood pressure that happens overnight as your heart struggles against the lack of air. Many people think snoring is just an annoying habit that bothers their partner. They do not realize it is a mechanical failure that is starving their most vital organ. Waking up with a headache day after day is your brain begging you for a steady supply of air. Getting this checked does not just cure the headache. It protects your heart from the massive strain of pumping without enough oxygen, and it protects your mind from the slow damage of poor sleep. It is one of the most profound ways you can protect your independence as you get older. We have now covered 6 distinct pains: the burning feet, the aching hips, the heavy morning head, along with the deep backache, the jaw tightness, and the leg cramps we discussed earlier. Each one is a master of disguise. Each one tricks you into thinking it is just a mechanical glitch or a normal sign of your body getting older. But the body does not lie. When we strip away the noise of the day, the body tells the exact truth about what it needs. We have one final nighttime pain to discuss, and it is perhaps the most deeply misunderstood of them all. It is a feeling that masquerades as a simple stomach issue, but it actually holds a mirror to a much more complex system inside you. And more importantly, we need to talk about how you, as someone who has spent a lifetime being strong for others, you can start changing the way you respond to these quiet midnight alarms. Let us talk about that final pain. You wake up suddenly at 1 in the morning with a rough cough. There is a sharp, burning sensation right behind your breastbone. You have a terrible, sour taste in the back of your throat. Your first thought is almost always about dinner. You blame the heavy sauce from the pasta. You blame eating too late in the evening. You sit up on the edge of the bed. Take a Schalke antacid tablet. Drink half a glass of water and wait for the fire to go out. Many of us simply call this heartburn and accept it as a penalty for enjoying our food. But when this burning chest pain and sudden coughing happen frequently at night, specifically waking you from a deep sleep, you are not just dealing with a sensitive stomach. You are dealing with a failing physical barrier. Think of your stomach like a tank of highly corrosive liquid, because chemically, that is exactly what it is. To keep that acid where it belongs, your body has a small, muscular valve at the bottom of your throat. For 60 or 70 years, that valve has acted like a mechanical trapdoor. It opens to let food down and snaps tightly shut to keep the acid from splashing back up. But just like a rubber seal on an old piece of machinery, that muscle can lose its grip over time. During the day, you have gravity on your side, even if the valve is a little weak. Standing upright keeps the heavy fluid at the bottom of the tank. But the moment you lie completely flat in bed, gravity is removed from the equation. If that valve is loose, the acid slowly leaks out and flows backward into your esophagus. The tissues in your stomach are built to handle that harsh environment. The tissues in your throat and chest are not. They are delicate. When acid sits on them night after night, it literally causes chemical burns. That is the deep, radiating pain you feel in your chest. It can be so incredibly severe that people often mistake it for a heart attack. And that sudden coughing fit, that happens because tiny droplets of stomach acid are actually spilling over into your windpipe and irritating your lungs. People will suffer through this for years. They start sleeping upright in a recliner chair, ruining their posture and their overall sleep quality, just to avoid the burn. They chew antacids like candy. But chronic acid exposure can permanently change the cells in your throat. It is a mechanical leak that needs to be properly managed. Sometimes that means taking specific daily medication that turns down the acid production at the source, or getting professional guidance on changing the structural alignment of how you sleep. It is not just about giving up spicy food. It is about protecting the lining of your internal pipes from eroding away in the dark. So now we have the full picture. The burning legs that signal a circulation block, the deep back ache that points to internal distress, the jaw tightness that whispers about the heart, the tingling feet that warn of nerve damage, the throbbing hip that reveals an inflamed cushion, the morning headache that begs for oxygen, and the burning chest that exposes a leaking valve. 7 different pains. 7 unique warning lights on the dashboard of a body that has carried you through a long, hard-working life. Why do we ignore them? Why is it so incredibly common for people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s to sit in the dark, rubbing a sore leg or clutching a heavy chest, and say absolutely nothing to anyone? It comes down to a very specific kind of pride. If you are listening to this, you likely grew up in a time where complaining was not tolerated. You went to work whether you felt good or not. You raised a family. You fixed the roof. You paid the bills. You learned very early on to put your own discomfort at the exact bottom of the priority list. You were taught that being tough meant suffering in silence. And there is another layer to it. A quiet fear. As we get older, we start associating doctor visits with bad news. We worry that if we admit something hurts, we will be told to stop doing the things we love. We fear losing our independence. We do not want to be the person who cannot drive anymore, or the person who constantly needs help getting around. So we try to hide the pain. We trick ourselves into thinking that if we do not acknowledge the problem, it cannot change our lives. But this is where we have the logic entirely backward. Ignoring a warning light does not stop the engine from failing. It actually guarantees the failure. True independence does not come from pretending you are invincible. True independence comes from brilliant, proactive maintenance. Think about the beautiful, heavy steel cars we used to drive back in the day. You did not wait until the engine seized up on the highway to check the oil. You listened to the engine. If you heard a new rattle or a strange hum, you opened the hood. You fixed the small thing before it became a catastrophic thing. That was not a sign of a bad car. It was the mark of a smart, responsible owner. Your body is no different. Bringing these nighttime pains to your doctor is not a surrender to old age. It is taking absolute charge of it. It is saying, I have built a good life. I enjoy my garden. I love my family. And I want to keep doing these things for another 20 years. When you fix the circulation in your legs, you keep your ability to walk the neighborhood. When you treat the sleep apnea causing your morning headaches, you protect your memory and your energy. When you calm the inflammation in your hip, you get your restful nights back so you can actually enjoy the daytime. Getting checked is the ultimate act of self-respect. You have spent decades taking care of other people. You have maintained the house, the yard, the cars, and the family. It is time to apply that exact same meticulous care to yourself. Tonight, when the house gets quiet and you turn off the lamp, pay attention. Do not let the darkness scare you, but do not let it silence you either. Listen to what your body is asking for. If you feel one of these specific aches, do not just shift your weight and try to sleep through it. Make a promise to yourself right there in the dark. Promise that tomorrow you will make the call. You do not have to live with pain just because you have some gray hair. The night is meant for rest. It is meant for peace. You have earned every single bit of that peace, and it is time to reclaim it.